Hey there, lovelies. So today we are going to talk about optimism and why it's such an important concept for our chihuahuas. Now, like us, dogs can be pessimistic and they can be optimistic. And let me give you an example of two of ours. So we have Minnie and Arlo are literally at the opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to optimism and pessimism. Minnie is hugely optimistic dog. Everything there is, yay, it's for me, it's great, I'm gonna love it, I can eat it. Whereas Arlo is very kind of, I'm not very sure about this. He's a much more anxious dog and he is a much more thoughtful dog. Now, in the wild, or in nature, or however one would say that, then being a slightly more pessimistic is probably a beneficial survival skill. If you imagine a predator hiding behind a bush and the bush shaking, Minnie would go, yay, that's great, that's for me. And she'd go up and she'd investigate and bang, that would not end well for her. Whereas Arlo would be, I'm not very sure about that. I'm going to give that a little bit of a swerve. So in the wild and in nature, being slightly more pessimistic is probably a good survival skill. It means he would go on to procreate, whereas Minnie not so much. But for our domestic dogs, we don't really need them to be so pessimistic. We've kind of got things for them. It's set up for them where they're not going to be put in this kind of danger. So we want our dogs to be more optimistic. So an optimistic dog is going to be able to cope with life a bit better. They are going to be able to cope with novelty a bit better. Now, Chihuahuas in general can be a little bit quick to decide something's bad, and they will very quickly drop into avoidance, which is the barking, lunging, or whatever, to try and get something to stay away. Now, not all of them, obviously, Minnie's not like that, but it is a little bit of a breed trait. And I think quite often that's born from obviously being quite small, because you have to be aware of what's around you. But an optimistic dog in a general domestic environment is going to be able to cope with new things and novelty much, much more easier than a dog who's slightly more shut down, who's slightly tight, and feeling a bit pessimistic about the environment. So we very much want our domestic dogs to be more optimistic. Optimistic or optimism and confidence are very, very much tied up together. Now, the good news is, even if your Chihuahua's natural default position is a little bit more pessimistic, we can grow optimism. We can help develop and move our dogs into a more optimistic headspace. A more optimistic dog is not going to be barking at everything that moves. They're not going to be worried by every noise they hear, every trigger outside, up and barking, running around, being crazy in the house. So optimism and confidence are really good skills and concepts that we want to teach our Chihuahuas. So I'm going to share with you today 6 steps, probably end up more, but we're starting with 6 steps on how to grow more optimism for your lovely Chihuahua. So the first thing I would suggest is, you need to grow optimism. You kind of need an absence of anxiety and pessimism and things for your dog to be pessimistic about. So the first thing I would suggest is you look at the things in your dog's life that are creating pessimism, and you try and replace that with a more optimistic outlook. So look at where your dog is struggling. Let's assume that they're not very keen on strangers. But people want to come up and they want to pet your dog, because obviously Chihuahuas are absolutely gorgeous and everybody wants to get a piece of them. But your dog might find that a little bit worrying. They might not want strangers coming up to them. They might not want someone looming into their space and touching them. So if that's the case for your dog, and that probably pretty much is if your dog is slightly pessimistic, then you need to start to advocate for your dog and say, you know what, I'm really sorry, but no, my dog would hate that. Now, when you do this, right, you're always going to get this. Someone is going, it's all right, all dogs love me. No, they don't, okay, is one. And you need to be able to get past that. You need to advocate for your dog. It is not about the person who wants to touch your dog. It's about how your dog feels about that. And if they feel, I don't really want this, then you need to respect that and you need to go, sorry, please don't touch my dog. Sometimes I tell clients to put on the big pants and actually have a stock phrase ready to say, no, okay, my dog would hate that. I'm training my dog, whatever it is, learn your phrase, be really firm about it and advocate for your dog. I had someone, this just blew my mind, okay. I had someone say, my dog really doesn't like it when strangers pick them up. And I'm kind of going, why are strangers even thinking it's okay to pick up your dog? How is that a thing? No one should ever be picking up somebody else's dog. That's absolutely crazy. I honestly, I couldn't believe I was hearing it. It's not something that's ever happened to me that anyone has said, oh, I'm gonna pick your dog up, because they wouldn't do it twice. So yes, absolutely. Get those big pants on and start advocating for your dog. And what I mean here is stop putting your dog into situations where they are getting the opportunity to rehearse anxiety. Now that could be your dog walk, okay? That could be an area of the house. That could be people that come into the house. There's all sorts of different situations where your Chihuahua is going to go, I can't cope with this, I don't like this. So you need to look at that and you need to think about how you can start to manage the environment and manage your Chihuahua so that they are not rehearsing this behavior and they are not being put into these situations that are causing them anxiety. Now, the second tip I'm going to give you is, and we do have a video on this, I think there might be more than one actually on our YouTube channel, is grow the skill of calmness, okay? Chihuahuas are very small, they're very busy, and they're a little bit nosy, and they do tend to go charging around the house at 90 miles an hour, giving it large, okay? Getting their noses into everything, barking at everything. And if this is your dog, this is really, really tiring for them, okay? And it puts the dog in a high arousal state. They are constantly full of cortisol. They are considering everything's a threat. Every noise they hear is a threat. And they are just basically finding it hard to go, oh God, I can just calm down here. So one of the things we need to do is spend some time growing the skill of calmness. Now that is a video in itself. So I urge you to check out the steps on how to grow a calm Chihuahua. Another side of being calm is making sure that your dog gets enough rest. Okay, again, tied in with this crazy barking and running around and getting involved in everything. Tiredness creates anxiety. It creates there's so many bad things tied up with your dog being overtired. Again, there's a video on this on the channel. Start to put in active rest. Start to give your dog the opportunity to just chill out, okay? And I don't mean just chill out by lying on the sofa, but with one ear cocked so that they're ready to get involved the minute there's a noise. We're talking about decisionless rest, or some people call it forced rest, where your Chihuahua goes down for a nap, possibly in a covered crate or a pen, where they get the opportunity to just go, oh God, I don't need to worry about that. So calmness and active rest are very, very important ways to make sure that your Chihuahua is not feeling pessimistic, anxious and stressed. So I think we're on step 3 or tip 3. Anyway, so play games with your Chihuahua. Now, what I mean by games is we're talking about games that give your dog easy wins. Okay, so if they are food motivated, we might play food games with them. Again, loads of little videos on our YouTube channel about different games that you can play with your Chihuahua. So that might be little food flick games where you've got your dog scampering around looking for food, catch games, spin games, little games that give your dog easy wins. Okay, we're not frustrating them, we're not asking them to sit for something, we're not trying to create stillness, because dogs find stillness worrying. Okay, it can create anxiety. So one of the things people always like to teach their dog when they get a new puppy is, I'm going to teach my dog to sit. Okay, that is stillness. Okay, stillness isn't an optimistic mindset for a dog. Dogs are built to move. Dogs are happier when they're moving. Sit is probably pretty much one of the last things that you should teach a dog, because when you are trying to get them to do something, they go, oh, I know what to do here, I'll sit. Okay, and it can ruin the movement or ruin whatever it is you're trying to teach them. So I would give the sit a bit of a swerve. But anyway, so we're creating games that have got movement, that have got easy wins, and that your dog does not have to do anything for. Okay, apart from possibly turn around and look back at you. Okay, so lots of easy win games. Now, the reason this is brilliant is because it puts your dog in a play headspace. Okay, and when your dog's play system is activated, their fear system can't work, is shut down. So the more you play with your dog, the more you get them used to games, you will start to build a more confident play muscle, which sounded better in my head, but you kind of know what I mean. You're building play as a positive part of their daily routine. So play lots of really cool little games with them that are easy wins. Now, there is a caveat, I don't know if that's the right word to use here. If you are going to play games with your dog, please don't overfeed your dog. So use part of their daily food allowance. Okay, so when I'm doing something with mine, doesn't matter which one, I will take a proportion of their daily food allowance and I will use that for their training, because obviously my dogs are very, very food motivated, but obviously if you're giving them treats on top of their daily food allowance, you're going to end up with a really fat Chihuahua, and there is nothing sadder than a fat dog. And not only that, you're also going to be putting your dog's health at risk. So lots of movement, lots of games, using food from their daily food allowance. You do not need to buy treats. Okay, dogs lick their bums, they eat poo, and they love a nice pile of vomit. So they really do not need a Lily's Kitchen sausage or whatever. Just give them a bit of chicken, give them a bit of their dinner if you're able to handle your dog's dinner. If you're feeding raw, then just swap a percentage out for some cooked chicken, lean pork, or anything like that. Okay, it does not have to be an expensive treat, which is just going to be full of nonsense. Hey, so I think we're on 4. So, okay, learn to watch your dog's body language. Learn to read when your dog doesn't like something. Okay, this is very, very important and does kind of tie into not putting your dog into situations that they don't want. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But there is a well-known model called the ladder of communication. Some people call it the ladder of aggression, but I don't feel that that's a very positive way to view it. Your dog is always communicating to you how they feel about things. So if they don't want something, but more often than not, people ignore it, and they very often ignore it for small dogs because they don't need to take any notice of it, because their dog is small enough to move around or manhandle. Not really a good word, but you know what I mean. You can move your dog around. So people tend to ignore their dog's ladder of communication, but it's a really important model to learn, and I will put a link to that as a PDF so you can download it. Now also be aware on the model of ladder of communication that does nothing is also a no. Okay, so start to understand, does my Chihuahua want this? Always be prepared to ask your question, how is my dog going to feel about this? And if the answer isn't, he's going to feel great, then don't do it. Okay, so start to think about and always ask this question, how is my dog going to feel about this, and how can you manage the environment so that it's a more positive experience for your dog? Okay, so this isn't, oh, my hair's a bit crazy today. So this isn't as much as a number 5 as really a 4.5, because it's kind of, again, tied up with this idea that we need to be working with our dogs. So stop doing things to your dog and work with your dog, okay? And the way we do that is we build consent-based handling, okay? We build the ability, cooperative care. So we work with our dogs so we don't have to put them in a hammock to cut their nails, okay? We don't have to put them in a headlock to take them to the vet and have the vet examine them. So we look at the situations that again, that are causing anxiety for your dog. How can we make this situation positive? Now, my last word on this, I mean, this is a subject that I feel really, really passionate about, as you probably gathered. Again, so the question, how does my dog feel about it? How can we work with our dog to get cooperative care with them? If you want your dog to do something, then train it. Okay, if you want your dog to cope with having their nails cut and go, here we are, do my nails, do them. They don't have to look at you, and they don't have to, but they just go, yeah, I can do this, I can do this. You can train that for your dog. You can train your dog to go to the vet and move into positions that your vet wants you to, so that they can examine them. You can train your dog to tolerate a blood draw. So all of these give your Chihuahua optimism. Giving your dog choice is so important. So when you are training something, when they're doing their nails and they go, oh, I don't do this anymore, that's okay. Okay, they can move away from whatever it is you're doing. And that's the same when you're playing games. You must always give your dog the opportunity to go, oh, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to go away. And if they do want to leave the interaction, then that's okay. And you should encourage that, and you should reward that, because you are looking after your dog's emotional bucket, and you do not want to be forcing your dog into a situation that they have absolutely no control over. Okay, so I've kind of lost the plot of what number I'm on, but never mind, I'll go back and count them later. But I hope you found this video useful. I hope you've started to understand why it's so important that we work with our dogs and not doing stuff to our dogs all the time, and how important it is to have our dogs optimistic, to have our dogs going, yay, this is great, rather than having your dog kind of shut down and worried and, oh my God, I don't want this to happen. And how doing that will create the optimism that gives our dogs the ability to see something and go, yeah, none of my business. I'm not worried about that. So I hope you found this video useful. So as ever, if it has been useful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and I will look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care. Bye.